I just want to request some vacation time.
It's inviting and stuff.
It's like, are you going someplace warm?
Amber
As warm as this Surface laptop feels?
Did you feel it? Oh, we're live? Good. All right. Well, I'm glad that worked out then. Matt, did you care to say anything else about it? Now that we're live?
It is. It's very inviting.
It's very
Well,
inviting.
what is it? Well, it's a Surface laptop, folks. We're going to be talking about that here in a second.
All right, so we have come in live, correct, Dan? All right, hello, everybody. This is Close to the Metal. This is our weekly computing podcast where we go in-depth with specific topics about computing. Sometimes it's breaking news. Sometimes it's more elaborate questions that we come up with. But today, we've got a couple of things that we're going to be discussing. One is this. Microsoft has come out with a new announcement today, and it is this. They've got a new version of Windows 10 called Windows 10S, and they've got the Surface laptop. And we are going to be discussing both of those things today. And we're also broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook. So if you're tuning in live, we want to hear your comments, your questions, whatever you have about it. If you've got some opinions on this, we want to know what those are too. So be sure to drop those in there. And we've got a Twitter poll to get to. But before we do that, I'm Greg Nibbler, and to my right are...
I'm Brad Burke.
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith, warm and inviting is his laptop, apparently. That's just creepy and weird the way I said it. All right, so we need to discuss...
It's on you, man.
That was on me. We need to discuss something, though. So Digital Trends Twitter page, at Digital Trends, posted a poll yesterday dealing with Close to the Metal. And we had a lot of people that responded to it, and we wanted to address that poll today and see what the results were. So the question was this. With $200 to spend on a graphics card, which would you purchase? And we gave two different options for it. One was the Radeon RX 580, and the other was the NVIDIA GTX 1060. Before I announce the results, did you have any opinion yourself there, Brad, between those two?
I think I swing probably towards the 1060.
Towards the 1060?
Yeah. We have an RX 580 review coming out, but the performance is a little bit better, but you got a higher power draw, more connections, bigger PCB, and it's sort of just barely sways it over towards the 1060, I think.
Okay. And Matt, which would you choose of those two?
I'd go to 1060 as well. I'm actually a little surprised to hear Brad say that because I thought he was into the RX 480 when that came out.
I was.
Yeah, but not
so
you
much.
Sort of had a change of heart.
Boy.
Sort of, yeah.
All right. Well, there it is, the change of heart. Well, the results were resoundingly NVIDIA GTX 1060, 77% over 23%. That was the results in the poll. So that's at Digital Trends. And I don't know whether we might be putting more of these polls up as well, maybe each week, so that somebody can answer that and let us know what you think. So that was it. That was the results of those poll with $200 to spend on a graphics card. 77% of you said the NVIDIA GTX 1060. So let us know your results there on live on Facebook and YouTube right now. But let's get to the topic at hand, and it is this: Windows, with a couple of announcements today. We're going to get into the Surface laptop here in just a minute, which is pretty exciting, seeing that new laptop come out, but also another version of Windows 10, and this is Windows 10S. And I'll turn it over to you guys to maybe explain this, since this is just breaking news, or at least as far as I know, finding out about Windows 10S. Matt, maybe you can explain what it is they're going for with this. Like, what is Windows 10S?
Well, Windows 10S is going to be their educational version of Windows 10.
Okay.
It is restricted to using apps on the Windows Store. There are some built-in management features.
Okay.
That are going to be a part of it, so that like administrators can manage how a lot of different devices are being used at the same time. There is a quick refresh feature where you can have a USB stick with Windows 10S and sort of plug it in and quickly refresh a system in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
And basically it's all just about being built for use in a school environment. And this is what we had heard about with Windows. It was being called Windows 10 Cloud.
Yeah, and we had
Or like we
discussed.
talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, those were the rumors about it. Yeah, where a slimmed down version.
Yeah, so it's probably it's a little more targeted than maybe we had thought. I guess like the original sort of thought was like maybe it's going to be a low cost or no cost version of Windows for manufacturers, and they can build cheaper Windows laptops and compete against Chromebooks, in that way. But they're really just targeting it towards education, and it's not really something that like the average home user is supposed to be using.
Okay, so it's that slimmed down version just for that. Go after what Google is doing. Go after Chrome. Get that sweet school money is essentially what they're what they're going after.
Schools, of course, have a lot of money, as you know, to just spend willy nilly. So Microsoft's going right after that.
Okay, all right. So that is Windows 10s. One of the announcements today.
Something interesting that I just wanted to throw out there too about Windows 10s is it immediately reminded me of something called Windows 10 Team. Which is something that, as far as I know, is only found on Surface Hubs, which is like the opposite end of Microsoft's price spectrum, basically. Like these really expensive 4K 120 hertz TVs, basically like a smart whiteboard almost. And that works in almost exactly the same way, in that you walk up to it and you just sort of hit go on a session and you log in and you run any Windows Store apps, only Windows Store apps that you need. And when you're done with it, you just walk away and it sort of starts all over, it refreshes itself, and it goes back to a basic starting point. So I think it's kind of interesting that this is a version of Windows that sort of exists at both ends of the price spectrum. That it's like get it out really cheap into schools, and also like if you're paying through the teeth for one of these really cool Surface Hub devices, you also get this sort of limited like for a reason Windows 10 version. So
it kind of works both ways on that.
Yeah.
All right. So Windows 10s, and we've got a full review of that, well, at least some details about that at digitaltrends.com, and I'm sure a lot more
Yeah, we've
information.
got some details about it, and we had published a early look at Windows 10 Cloud a few months ago. So
so kind of it encapsulates a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I imagine that everybody was speculating about. Okay, but let's get to the other thing, the Windows Surface laptop. So this is the first laptop they've come out with that's built for Windows 10, correct?
It's the first laptop that Microsoft has made, like the first straight laptop.
The first straight laptop that they have made, and use it, and especially incorporating Windows 10 as well. So, what do we want to talk about with this laptop? I mean, it's kind of a big deal coming out. Using that Surface technology, and again, I'm just learning about this because this is brand new information. These guys are the experts. So, if you have questions, please drop those in on Facebook and YouTube. But Surface laptop, so it does use the Surface Pen, correct?
Yeah.
So it uses all that stuff
It'll
that we
be
saw
compatible
with
the Surface Pen and also with the Surface Dial, which I don't know how much use that'll actually be. But if you want to use the Surface Dial, that's an option. They showed it on stage doing that to scroll through Spotify, which I think is a very specific use case. Sort of like Apple doing the same thing with their Touch Bar. It's kind of like, look, Spotify. Here you kids like Spotify. But that's sort of side of the point. The actual laptop is a pretty nice looking machine. So it's going to start at $1,000. That's going to get you 4 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabyte hard drive. I'm not sure the resolution offhand because I believe it's a little bit of a funky resolution. But it's a 3:2 aspect ratio, 13.5 inch screen. It's going to be about the same size as a lot of smaller 13-inch laptops these days. It has pretty thin bezels. And stepping up a little bit, if the base model is going to be a little cramped on the storage, so probably a lot of people will be more interested in the one that has 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, and that's 1,300.
1,300. That seems like a lot.
You go up from there. Core i5 and i7 processors.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
I mean, that seems like the price is getting into almost Apple range, for a laptop at $1,300.
Well,
well, I mean, okay, we can go a lot more, but
do we want to start that discussion? Let's go.
Fair
Let's
enough.
go.
Fair enough. But I am seeing, comments are coming through here already just with that price. Lynn, way too pricey. Bobby, wow, that's a lot. I mean, to me, that seems like a lot when there's so many options out there for laptops.
The 13-inch MacBook Pro starts at $1,500 with no touch bar.
Okay, that's still not that far away. That well,
From
okay,
a
granted,
upgraded version for $1,600, you get
fine.
the Core i7, the 8 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gig SSD, platinum. Because the color's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah,
so,
but-
I like as far as the price goes, I think the price is fine.
You think it's fine? Okay,
It's
all right.
I mean, every time something comes out, we see it over and over again. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's so expensive." That's because we don't want to pay for stuff. Of course,
I don't
want
paying
it
for
to be $1,000. I just want it to be free. Can I have it for free, please? But you can't. It's $1,000 or $1,300 for the upgraded model.
Okay.
And the pricing is pretty in line with what you would pay for a high-end Windows laptop. I would say it's a little bit pricier.
But not a lot.
Maybe a little bit pricier than some of them.
But I'm just throwing
Just
this out
scotch.
there. It's
But-
fuzzy.
Yes, it's fuzzy.
So, can you really put a price on a fuzzy surface?
I don't think so.
right.
I think.
All right. Well, I have been told the price is fair and just mildly
I mean,
more
if you look at
expensive.
like a Dell XPS 13, like for the same specs, that's going to be a pretty similar price.
Okay. All right. So,
HP Spectre 13, 360 is a pretty popular one. Now that's an example of one I think is a little bit less expensive,
okay.
but it's not going to be by much. It's probably going to be like $100 or something.
Okay.
So it's sort of in the range.
All right. Well, what else is special about this laptop they've come out with? And again, feel free to drop your questions and comments here. I've seen a bunch come through on Facebook. Bobby says, I guess you get what you pay for, right? That's probably with me. Yeah, because I sometimes pay too little. And I do get what I pay for. So fair. Maybe this price is right. As far as technology changes these days, it does seem a bit expensive. But again, I think your explanation kind of makes sense as far as where it is. It's falling in line with what everything else is right now. So what else do we know about this laptop? What else have we found out about? Obviously, we discussed you can use the Surface Pen and the Surface Dial if anybody is using that. I don't know how much use you would get for a Surface Dial on a laptop at that point.
Well, the dial probably not.
Yeah, I
mean,
wouldn't think so.
I think they're just kind of reminding you. It
Just
exists.
like, hey, it's still there if anybody wants to use that
Yeah.
thing. What else do we know about this?
Well, Brad, will you explain the fuzziness of it?
It's
this
fuzzy.
fuzziness. Okay, I wasn't sure where
What do
you're
they
going
call?
there.
They have a name for this sort of materials.
Do you
that
mean
they
it's
use. I was trying to find
physically-
it.
Alcantara?
Alcantara or something. It's like a. It's really hard to explain.
Wait, so it's physically fuzzy?
Yeah, you can feel it. Matt has it here if you want to. Like, if you think you might be able to explain it.
It's like a velvety
yeah,
kind
it's
of
like
thing.
velvet, like a really
It's like a velvet
short
painting.
Felt
I don't know
almost.
if I like that. Actually, that kind of weird. I
What
don't.
what do you not like about it's fuzzy?
I don't know. It
It's
feels
warm.
It's
It's inviting.
it's warm and inviting. So it does. And this is something they're not joking about this. The cover it's fuzzy where you're resting your hands on the keyboard, and is the touchpad fuzzy as well?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's fuzzy. It feels like a really light velvet that is on there. I think it's just that's just such an odd feeling for a laptop that I instantly think, oh, I spilled something on it. I think that's where my mind was going with that. Like, it shouldn't feel like that. That's not right. But okay, that's something different, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is there a purpose to that, or is this just
It's
to
warm
try to
and-
stand out?
it's warm and
It's
inviting.
That's
Again,
literally the purpose.
It's warm and inviting.
I mean,
My
like,
bad.
Microsoft thinks it's a nice luxury feature. Like,
Yeah.
and I kind of agree. One thing I like about the MacBook that I don't, it's kind of nitpicky. It's a design thing, but I've always thought in the MacBook, every time you open a MacBook, first of all, it's super cold. Like you get a MacBook out from your bag, it's just so cold. And then a lot of times it has like this very hard edge design where it's kind of sharp in places.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like that's a very friendly design. And I like the idea. I always like this about the Dell XPS 13, for instance. It has sort of a soft touch interior.
Okay.
And I think that doing like a sort of a fabric-y interior is like really good too.
It's got to get an undercoat on it. Yeah.
It's softer. It is inviting. It is warm when you get it out. You don't have to, wait for it to warm up.
All right.
It says it's treated to resist spills, stains, and absorptions and wipe clean. Do you have any experience with that? Because it seems to me it would get kind of like nappy and gross pretty quick if you spilled something on it.
I think it probably is fine.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
so.
I think modern fabrics like this are pretty stain resistant.
clean
Now,
up pretty well.
if you like are eating a big old bowl of spaghetti and you keep like flopping, like
Well, I do that, so.
I agree. I might do too. Like I might change my habits and not eat that bowl of spaghetti while I was using my computer. But
But if you haven't learned that at this point, I mean, I don't think anything's going to change.
But the thing is, like, I like just looking at that laptop you got there from over
Uh-huh.
here. I see some shiny parts are all worn into the
oh yeah,
the surface there. So, I mean, materials wear.
yeah.
I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Okay.
It's just when your laptop's old, it's gonna look old. Sorry, but I
Matt's
don't think
just
it's gonna be
breaking
a
it
big
down.
deal.
Matt's keeping
Yeah.
it real here today. All right, so finding out about again, if you're just tuning in, talking about Microsoft's new Surface laptop that has come out. One thing we've discussed this now. It does have a fuzzy keyboard and what hand rest, I guess, is what you would call it. It's fuzzy. It's warm and inviting, so it's kind of strange. Feels like velvet. It's also the price. The price again, just to recap really quick. The price. What's the starting level?
1,000.
$1,000.
$999.
$999. Starting level. A couple of other questions. People are asking. We've got some gaming questions. Though let's talk about just the physical side of it. Okay. Well, to answer the gaming question, apparently no, it's not set up for gaming.
Well, there's Iris Pro Plus, so you can play like Hearthstone.
So really, they went through all this, and it's starting off for 1,000, but you can't do any kind of gaming on it.
Again, I think for a 13-inch laptop, that's pretty standard. Like you
Yeah.
can't configure an XPS 13 with a GPU in it.
Okay.
I think at the 13-inch level, most people aren't trying to game. There are very few laptops that are
I
trying.
mean, you
to do
can
that.
play some games.
Hearthstone probably run great.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not going to be like it's not going to be like a gaming laptop.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. I guess that's kind of answering some of that. And again, keep dropping your questions in there on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll make sure that we get through to those. Let's see. Zen is asking. Zen says, "I'm a caveman. Do you use touchscreen on laptops a lot?" This is just a general question. Do you actually use it? on laptop?
I was actually early on. I thought it was kind of gimmicky, and I
Uh-huh.
was kind of against touchscreens, and I sort of said like, "This is a stupid feature. No one needs this."
Yeah.
And I've really come around on them. It's just like sometimes you're using a laptop and you're typing away, and you just reach up and you can just tap something you want to, hit a link, like quickly scroll. I use it for scrolling a lot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm like a touchscreen power user by any means, and I don't really miss it when it's not there. But
It's just kind of an added.
But it's something that's becoming,
feature.
and especially, like on these smaller systems, if you're on a 13-inch system, your hands are right there in front of the screen already. It's not very far to just reach up and touch the screen real quick.
Okay.
So it's a nice value. I don't know about the pen, writing on a laptop screen. Didn't do that much with the
I don't
Surface
think
Book.
the
I would
pin
always
is
flip
going
it.
to
So.
be. I use
It's not included, so
with the Surface Pro 4. I have been using it kind of how Microsoft I think would intend you to use it, which is that sometimes I just take the keyboard off. If I'm looking at like a document, an outline or something, I want to show it to someone. I can take the keyboard off and be like, here, look at it. I can use the pen to do some markup. Now on the Surface laptop, I don't think you're going to be using the stylus much. Indeed, it's just going to be kind of awkward. You might use it for some quick annotations.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure if it's included. Brad, did you see that
from
on
what
the
I
site?
saw someone saying on
stylus?
Twitter that was saying it wasn't included.
Wasn't
That
included.
it works with it, but it's not included.
Right. So I wouldn't consider that to be like like part of the package of the Surface laptop.
What's in the box? Surface laptop, power supply, quick start guide, and safety warranty documents.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but as far as the actual touch goes, yeah, I mean, I do use the touch, and yeah, it's that sort of scrolling scenario is very common. Also, like you're watching YouTube videos, it's very easy to just
Scroll through.
To
Yeah.
just pick, start it by just tapping it and pause it by tapping it. And
So there's a few advantages there, and I suppose, that I could definitely see with it. So Zen, with your caveman antics, it sounds like there is some use for it. All right, moving on here, a couple of other questions. A lot of people are asking, what's the durability of it? Like, how much does it weigh? What are we talking about with that? And I think it's a fair question.
It weighs
What's
it weighs 2.76 pounds.
2.76
So
pounds.
13.5 inch. It has a 2256 by 1504 display, by the way. 3:2 aspect ratio.
Okay.
yeah,
So it's kind of an odd
it's because of the
Yeah,
3:2
aspect ratio because of the
aspect ratio.
3:2.
That's been true of a lot of Surface devices. They all have kind of weird resolutions.
Why is that they have such weird resolution?
With the with the Surface Book, it was supposed to kind of make it feel more like a clipboard, right? That was sort of their idea, was to make it like.
When
they
with
always
the
kind of
Surface
carry it
Studio,
around.
I mean, the Surface Studio is 400 by 300,
Uh-huh.
or 4,000 by 300. That 400 by 300 would be a pretty good resolution. 4,000 by 300, and again, it's kind of like you're supposed to use it as like this art slate,
Uh-huh.
and they just use whatever resolution they think fits
Okay.
for the device. resolution is like a fairly dynamic thing, so it's not really something that is much of a disadvantage.
Okay. All right. A couple more questions here that are coming in about it. And again, talking about the Microsoft Surface laptop. Let's see. Does the Surface laptop convert to tablet mode?
Nope.
No.
So
laptop.
this is just a straight up laptop, the first one. So it's just a laptop. Asking about the ports. Is it USB-C
I'm
or
going
is
to
it
mention
no?
that
I don't think it is
no, it is
USB-C.
not. You have
Okay.
one USB 3.0 Type A, one mini display port, 3.5 millimeter, and then your charging port.
So you only have one
really,
USB.
They've really stripped down the ports on this thing.
See, again, that's not something that I'm a big fan of. I like multiple USB ports.
That'll
at
be
least
one of
2
the
to
biggest
3.
complaints about it, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gotten to the point where it's pretty common to have small laptops with 2 ports.
Yeah.
Or even 1 port. I mean, we have tested and seen that, but, 1 port's definitely going to
I mean, I know.
cause some complaints by people who need a lot of ports.
Yeah, I mean, and I know a lot of stuff is Bluetooth now anyway, so it's going to be less and less need for the ports. But still, I like having a couple of options for
Yeah.
for
I've been
ports.
using a Surface Book for quite a while now, and I recently switched to the XPS 15, and I've just been loving the fact that I have like actual ports to use now. And that was even something when the Surface Book with Performance Base came out that we sort of, I wouldn't say we slammed it for, but we mentioned was that would have been a really nice time to update the base with some extra connectivity.
Yeah.
To throw in maybe an HDMI port or a USB Type-C or two, it was a good time to do so. And the fact that they have not done that here is really like, if like there's so much about these products that they're putting out that are really innovative and are really like kind of cutting edge, that for them to just sort of skimp on putting a Type-C,
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't just put a Type-C port on there.
Yeah, that
They're,
seems kind
they're
of strange.
just relying on docks.
Yeah.
Like Microsoft they offer docks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And-
now it's
And that's something that is like it'll expand the connectivity a ton. It's also an extra cost.
It's not even that great, to be
I
honest.
think it's a very Microsoft sort of way of approaching it. It's kind of like, well, they imagine, I think, people being at their desk, which is very well organized, and it has, the little dock here, and you just plug it in, and you get all your ports, and it's so seamless and easy. Of course, in the real world, that's not necessarily how it works out.
yeah.
And I also want to throw out there that looking at the Surface dock that they sell, which is $200.
$200.
$200. Well, that's like I kind of gawked at the price of these things, but especially
Docks
these
are
Thunderbolt
expensive.
docks are very expensive. They're $200 or $300 plus. That's like a pretty standard. I know. Well, but normally you get sort of just this massive swath of connectivity options over a single cable. That's like the draw.
Yeah.
This one you get 4 USB 3.0 ports, no 3.1, 2 mini display port, 3.5 millimeter, and Ethernet, and that's it.
For $200.
$200. So that
Yeah.
is where I'm sort of like I kind of want it like the
No.
dock. I kind of want full size display port. Like mini display port's not the worst thing, but like
Yeah.
USB 3.1 ports would be really nice. But all these systems have are 3.0
You're probably
ports.
just better off with a third-party dock at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, some questions coming back about the internals of the computer and just what it's running, and maybe we can get back to these. So Gideon's saying, so the i7 comes with Windows 10s, and Windows 10 Pro is sold separately. I think there's some confusion, so maybe we can clarify exactly what our options are and
do
what they
that.
come with. So with the
As
with
far as
the
the
new,
operating
So-
system,
yeah, as far as the operating system, and
I think it's going to be Windows 10 Pro, right?
It is not.
It's not? What is
The
it?
software that is included with both systems is Windows 10s with a footnote, which we'll get to. I'll figure out what that is. But it says right underneath, prefer to run non-store apps. Easily switch to Windows 10 Pro for free until December 31st, 2017.
so you're buying this, $1,000 minimum laptop, but you're only getting Windows 10s on it.
Yes.
They really snuck that one in, didn't they?
Because that
Yes.
seems, if I'm paying that much, I don't want the slimmed down version of Windows 10s. I mean, do I? Or why would I? Why would I want that? Brad, the question's on you. Explain yourself.
I don't have an answer for you there.
Okay.
And I think it's really odd that they're only offering that free upgrade until the end
Yeah.
of this year, because it sort of really cuts down. I mean, it makes you want to rush out and buy one of these if you want one, but like,
I mean, you got to imagine that at that point they'll be like, and here's Windows 10 Pro, but
Yeah. Okay, so there's something of note, of
Jeez.
importance. Windows 10s is what it's coming out with.
But
So-
everyone only uses universal Windows platform apps anyway, right? That's like pretty common practice.
Okay.
I don't.
really weird decision.
I don't think most
on
people
their
use
part.
Chrome or like Steam or anything like that, so it'll probably be fine.
That is strange. Okay, so let's talk about as far as are they all i7 or is there i5? What are we running on?
There
this?
are i5s and i7s.
Okay.
A variety of configurations.
Okay.
They don't say exactly what those chips are. They usually don't on the website.
Okay. All right. Taking a look here at what Christian has a comment. I'm not going to repeat that, but that is funny on YouTube. Stefan says the advantage of Windows 10s is the battery life optimization. So maybe.
But at
don't
what
know.
cost?
Yeah.
And like, to
But at
say,
that price-
oh, it's 14 and a half hours. Everybody says it's 12 hours. It's 15 hours. Like, I'm not like immediately saying like, oh, well, they say it's 14 and a half hours. It's probably the best laptop battery we've ever tested. Like, I don't have any reason to believe that that's like a completely true, 100% honest statement that is going to reflect absolute everyday average,
Yeah.
And just to clarify too, and there people are just tuning in talking about the Windows 10s. So talking about the Microsoft Surface laptop, it apparently does just come with Windows 10s. There is a free upgrade to Windows 10 Pro until December 31st.
I think they mean
or
if
something.
you do the upgrade at some point in the next year, you'll get to keep it.
You'll get to keep it. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay for
Otherwise, and if you buy the thing next year, you're going to have to pay for it.
it. Yeah, that's lame. I don't like that idea at all. But
I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Yeah,
because I imagine that if that like expires and then Microsoft is like all of a sudden, I don't know. Like I don't know how they're
how you charge people for the operating system,
it's a really weird thing to do, especially because they came out and said Windows 10s is for education,
Yeah.
and they didn't really say that the Surface laptop was like an education system.
It's a
they
very
obviously
expensive
they obviously
education
said that
system.
it can be used for that.
Sure.
But they didn't sort of come out and say like, oh, it didn't sound like, oh, this is really just meant for students.
Yeah.
And so, but then it comes with Windows 10s.
Mm-hmm.
That really seems to confuse the message. It makes you think, well, maybe Microsoft really is kind of angling this to get people off of regular Windows. I don't know.
Yeah. That seems.
I think we just learned we have to write another op-ed. Is what we just learned.
Yeah.
So here we go, live on air. we just pitched ourselves another op-ed.
Some questions coming in too about the computer itself, and again, this was just announced today. Actually, it was last night. I think it got leaked last night by somebody online. Antonio asked, at this price point, do you guys really think this is a MacBook alternative? This Windows.
I think it's sort of almost a different market.
Different animal.
Just in that when you're actually talking about an upgraded, Windows, mid-range Windows notebook versus an upgraded MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Like they're $800 difference there. That computer is so much more expensive, and it's kind of angling for something different, I think, than this computer is. This is sort of more angled at the XPS 13 and the HP Spectre and these computers that we've seen at this $1,000 to $1,300 price point that are becoming really popular. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I know a lot of people who have bought systems in that price range. So
I would say is don't get the MacBook Pro.
don't do that.
Really? So you're going to go straight?
Or get the Surface Book, or get a
Dell
Dell XPS or whatever. I mean, like we've been clear for a while that we're not huge fans of the MacBook Pro. It's too expensive. It makes some really weird compromises. So
Yeah. So not a fan of the MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And again, go ahead and drop in any questions, comments you have here as we're starting to run towards the end of the show. Talking about Microsoft's announcement, new Windows 10s, which is the slimmed down version. We were calling it Windows 10 Cloud, I think earlier was the speculation. But it's like the slimmed down version of Windows 10. And then also the new Surface laptop that is coming out. Do we have a date on when that's going to be available?
The laptop,
Yeah.
they said it'll be shipping June 15th.
June 15th.
Pre-orders are available now.
Okay, so that's pretty soon, actually. I'm kind of
yeah.
surprised it's that quick.
I wonder if I was just noticing that on the Windows 10s, each education PC comes with a copy of Minecraft Education Edition. I wonder if the Surface laptop does. If it comes with some of these extra
Windows-
features.
Probably,
If it comes
yeah.
with Windows 10s, you'd imagine it comes with some of these extra features that you get,
See,
like
but
Office 365.
I mean, I get that for Windows 10s for if they're targeting schools and educational systems where it's a slimmed down version that lots of people can use. Sure, throw in my Minecraft education version, but I mean, I wouldn't care. Like buying the laptop, that's not going to be an incentive to me.
Right.
But also, I'm very anti Minecraft. I really let that leak through when I was.
I'm just kind
I
of
realized listening back to myself. I apologize. But yeah, no,
I was
that
kind
is-
of more curious about
yeah.
like there are these perks that supposedly come with these education machines. So if this is like Windows 10s without all the education perks, then it's sort of the worst of both worlds.
yeah, that is true. Okay, so if any final questions, go ahead and drop those in there. People are asking for a rating on it. We don't have it in hand yet.
No.
So hard to say. But I'm sure DT is going to be getting one here at some point.
Would hope so.
To go through.
We'll have a hands-on up later today.
Oh, later today.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there we go. So we'll take a look at that. And there is preliminary reviews and just kind of discussing what the announcement was. All of those articles are at digitaltrends.com where you can take a look at that. Final thoughts and comments. Anything else you want to get across to everybody about this, about the Windows Surface laptop? Brad, would you buy one? Like right now, taking a look at it, would you buy this?
I don't think I'd pre-order one.
Yeah.
I think I would wait and see how it looks when it actually arrives. I think some of the promises they're making are promises that have to be measured in the real world before they can be kind of told about. And I think the Windows 10s thing is a big caveat that like if that doesn't have a clear way to work itself out, then it's definitely something that's going to throw people off because like I think it will confuse people more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't realize, and I have a feeling people are buying this thing and they're going to get it and try and install Chrome and can't figure out why they can't install Chrome, So,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't suggest pre-ordering a laptop generally.
No.
I do think that it looks competitive.
Yeah.
I think that it could definitely be something that's going to compete with an XPS 13. There's a lot of things going for it. The battery life looks like it could be good. The processor looks like it'll be a fast processor for your money. The screen should be nice. But it is hard to really say too much about it before getting
Before actually
to look
having
at
it.
I will say the XPS has a huge advantage over the Surface laptop in that the XPS can run Chrome. So
Yeah, that right there. I mean, not being able to run Chrome, that's a big disadvantage for me if I'm going to be ordering it because I'm just so used to that. Although it does have that warm and inviting velvety
You gotta decide.
keyboard, which we did discuss at the very beginning.
modern applications, fuzzy keyboard.
Fuzzy
You
keyboard.
just have to make these decisions.
Warm
when
and
you're buying a
inviting.
computer.
These are the hard things to make. All right. Any final comments, thoughts, questions, other than go to digitaltrends.com and read all about this and everything else that we've got on there. So a lot of articles I imagine are going to be coming up today. And as we find out more and more about the Surface laptop, Windows 10s, and everything else, who knows what else Microsoft will announce. So I imagine these are the big announcements as far as what we're concerned with. Yeah.
it would just be interesting to see what direction they take at build.
Yeah.
Because that's
And that's
another
next
big
week.
thing that's coming up. It's like next week. So I don't know if they're going to flesh out some of these announcements.
Christian's asking, do you think they'll refresh the Surface Book anytime soon?
I don't know. They should.
Yeah, they should. Will
It's
they?
about time.
I don't know. All right. Well, there we go. That's the information that we have so far. And I want to say thank you to everybody tuning in, too. There's a lot of people dropping questions in there on Facebook and YouTube. And, of course, you can always email podcast@digitaltrends.com, and we can maybe answer more in depth if you have specific questions or something that you can't find at digitaltrends.com, which you can probably find everything there as far as the answers you're looking for. 42. So digitaltrends.com, go there and check out the articles on everything that we're talking about. And this is our podcast, Close to the Metal. So we're live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and we go live on Facebook and YouTube, and then it's up as a podcast afterward, which you could download, iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Go there and subscribe to that, and then that way you get it right away and listen to all the back episodes of things we've talked about. And join us every week. It's always fun, and we always talk about whatever the news story is, whatever's coming up. We will discuss it right here on this show. And thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another episode.